Assassin's Creed Shadows might not change your mind on the series, but feudal Japan definitely is beautiful. It's Aaron here from Mirror Gaming, back again from Summer Games Fest, where recently I got to see a hands-off gameplay preview for Assassin's Creed Shadows. So obviously the big new-ish feature this time around is the fact that there's not just one protagonist this time, but no, two. You've got Yasuke, the historical black samurai who's coming back, kind of like a mythological figure, but they're bringing him into the real life element in Assassin's Creed, as well as Naoe, the more nimble, fast, quick-paced shinobi assassin who was born and raised in Japan. And it's kind of the dichotomy between these two characters that's really at the heart of Assassin's Creed Shadows. And in order to best showcase that, the demo that I got to see very much centered on your traditional standard assassination target mission, but played out in three different ways. One involving Yasuke as the kind of big brutish brute, and two involving Naoe. Because although Naoe is very clearly geared towards more stealth-focused strategic gameplay, Ubisoft were very adamant in pushing the fact that she can still handle herself in open combat whenever it breaks out. Assassin's Creed Mirage last year was very much a return to the roots of the original game, whereas this one falls back into the line of open world RPGs in the style of Origins, Odyssey and Valhalla. But the main difference is that feudal Japan is a setting that people have wanted for a long time now, and I'm pleased to report that it looks bloody beautiful. The demo kind of started off with Yasuke, the player Azuchi, riding on his horse into the town of Fukuchiyama, and it was quite interesting because obviously Yasuke has this reputation of being a defender of the people, a defender of the town, and complete with his, very tall stature in comparison to Japan's usual population, people notice him. You cannot go unnoticed. The stealth approach will very rarely work. It takes place at Castle Fukuchiyama, the demo, and I got to see it play out three different ways. The first one starring Yasuke. I'd almost describe him as the Terminator. You can't miss him. He heads directly for enemies and he can take a lot of hits. But believe it or not, he gives as good as he gets. And this was kind of reinforced using a weapon known as the Kanabe, I believe it's called, which is kind of this big club-like weapon, and he would repeatedly bash on these enemies. But that doesn't mean he's not, got some degree of agility, because I believe with the special skills which are implemented using the R2 button, there was one point where he leapt into the air, did a big ground slam, so he's very capable of defending himself. And this was at the point of the demo where I was like, okay, Assassin's Creed Shadows, this is going to get a bit bloody. This is going to get very, very gory. This is an open world RPG, it's very much counters, parrying, dodges, light and heavy attacks, knowing when to get in and out, building up your sort of special attack meter and then deploying those, of which Naoe and Yasuke will obviously have two different complete sets of moves. So the objective was to get in there, storm Castle Fukuchiyama, and take down an evil Templar member called Lord Hayasashi. And, Yasuke did this very much by taking the direct approach, storming through doors. He's unable to climb rooftops, so you can go through regular doors, but you can also bash through the paper-thin walls. By comparison, Naoe is able to climb up and be more agile, use the rooftops, use the light and shadows, hiding in the shadows, I think it was using the kunai that she was able to take down light sources that would then go on to distract enemies, and then you would be able to sneak up behind them and dispatch them from behind as well. Naoe is also the only one of the two that can now use eagle vision. Ubisoft have kind of chosen to reserve that feature to just one protagonist as opposed to both. Most missions can be played as either one or the other. There's a couple the developers were telling me that are exclusive to either Yasuke or Naoe, but for the most part you either take the direct approach with Yasuke, or you can kind of plan ahead, because I would say that far and away Naoe is the more traditional Assassin's Creed archetype. So if you were kind of disappointed about Valhalla and Odyssey's more brute force approach, you got Yasuke, but for everybody else who wants to play in a more classic style, Naoe is the one to go for. But having said that, she can still very much take care of herself, as I kind of hinted at earlier. And there was this pickaxe-like chain weapon whose name I'm not going to even pronounce, but it reminded me most of Scorpion from Mortal Kombat, in the fact that if there's an enemy fairly close to you, but off into the distance, she can kind of throw that lock in and then pull herself towards that enemy, very much go in for the quick attack, which makes her very, very deadly indeed. That weapon is also very good for crowd control, and in the demo I got to see, whenever there was a flood of 3 or 4 rival samurai that came out into the open area, she was able to kind of twirl this thing around her and kind of make sure she was able to secure some space. So the last thing to mention is that because Assassin's Creed Shadows is obviously the very first game coming just to PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X as well as PC, it looks amazing, guys. You know, as kind of great as a third-party open world action RPG can, I'd say the leap between this and Mirage is quite literally night and day. But the other new feature is obviously this dynamic weather system, which may or may not affect your approach in terms of these assassinations. Again, I didn't get like a real sense of like, you know, when it's raining, is that going to affect like, will roofs be slidey? You know, am I going to be able to swing as easily to these places? But the only real element of outside of kind of like the visual look and maybe how some of the wildlife interact with the world, that the new dynamic seasonal and weather system is going to impact gameplay, was really like when it's dark, there'll be more shadow available opportunities, which again will only really positively affect you if you're playing as Naoe as opposed to Yasuke, who you're just always going to have to go in a noticeable manner, right? It's not a revolution for Assassin's Creed, but it is a slight tightening up of the Origins, Odyssey, sort of Valhalla archetype open world RPG that I think people have been looking for a very long time when it comes to feudal Japan. So there you have it, guys, in terms of my thoughts about seeing an hour of live gameplay of Assassin's Creed Shadows. What are your thoughts on the game so far? Are you a diehard fan? Are you liking what you're seeing of this feudal Japan setting? And do you plan on playing as Naoe or Yasuke? Be sure to let me know in the comment section below. And then when you've done that, be sure to leave this video a like if you enjoyed it to stay up to date with even more videos like this. Until next time, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.